This line is for Republic of Korea passports only. Foreigner, me? The airport employee's single word felt both familiar and foreign, instantly shaking the identity within me. Hello, I'm Kang Hana, a North Korean defector living in South Korea. Thank you for visiting my Hanaya YouTube channel. It's such a hot day today. I should have a nice cold glass of juice with ice. I really struggled with where to start with my slightly unique story. South, I've decided to create videos based on the writing I've been doing. After much deliberation, I decided to make a video of what I was writing about. I don't speak English very well, so we put a lot of effort into narration and translated subtitles. But I'll keep working hard even if it takes some time. If you leave feedback on the English subtitles or narration in the comments, it will be a huge encouragement for me. Thank you. Typically, most North Korean defectors, after escaping through North Korea and China, undergo an initial investigation at the South Korean embassy in Thailand, Vietnam, or Europe. After that, they usually take a flight to South Korea. However, the way I entered South Korea was a bit different, so I'm going to start sharing my story from the moment I arrived in South Korea. When I think of the word arrival, I'm reminded of that moment when I first set foot on South Korean soil, feeling both excited and nervous. He plane touched down smoothly on the runway, as if gliding carefully. I double-checked the seat belt, feeling a slight tremor in my fingertips. My body was reacting faster than I was prepared for. Amidst expectation, fear, and an indescribable trembling, my mind was still somewhere high above, even higher than where we'd taken off. The in-flight announcement came on.
비상구마다 안내 사인이 있으므로 가까운 비상구의 위치를 확인해 주세요.
It was the first time I'd ever heard an announcement in Korean. They were words I had learned well, but the speed, intonation, and way of speaking felt strangely unfamiliar, like a rhythm from another world. I could hear the sentences, but their meaning felt distant. I stopped trying to follow the voice, and without realizing it, my gaze shifted to the window. Beneath the darkening evening sky, the city sparkled like a jewelry box someone had carefully opened. Countless lights scattered across the ground, each one twinkling like a living thing. Faced with the beautiful, unreal scene, I felt rather afraid. Will my life ahead also shine like those lights? Could the shadow I've hidden deep within my heart swallow even that light? Questions with no one to ask and no one to answer echoed quietly within me, along with a burden I couldn't completely share, not even with my loved one. The airplane door opened and people began to move all at once. Among those laughing on the phone, naturally pulling their carry-ons and moving with an air of certainty, I felt especially out of step, awkward, and it seemed like only my footsteps echoed loudly. The airport was wider and more orderly than any place I had known. The polished marble floors, the clear glass walls, even the mechanical sounds felt orderly and refined. Everything felt like it was quietly asking, "Why are you here?" I forced myself to maintain a calm expression, but inside, an unfamiliar tension was quietly lurking. I wanted to step away from the flow for a moment. While looking around to catch my breath, a small sign caught my eye. Restroom. The moment I stepped inside, my feet stopped. It was so clean, my first thought was, is this really a public restroom? A scent brushed past my nose, momentarily taking my breath away. Warmth and coolness, unfamiliarity and novelty quietly coexisted in one space. It was a moment where I felt the world had changed with just one scent. That space was like a small boundary line between this world and me. A sanctuary where I could briefly stay and catch my breath. Slightly relaxed, I approached the sink to wash my hands, but I couldn't see a button for the water. Hesitantly, I reached out my hand and suddenly, whoosh, a stream of water poured out. When I pulled my hand back in surprise, it stopped, and when I reached out again, it flowed again. I repeated this a few times and I couldn't help but chuckle. It felt like the first greeting from a new world. In that brief moment, I lowered one layer of the boundary within me, just a very thin layer. When I stepped back into the hallway after briefly relaxing, the bright lights and bustling atmosphere of the airport pulled me back to reality. Right away, the tension quietly followed. In front of the immigration counters, people stood in long lines with spaces in between. As I slowly approached the lines, I alternated between looking at both to see which one to go to. One line was long and stretched out, while the other was almost empty. The face of my husband, waiting for me beyond the doors, flashed in my mind at that moment. Without hesitation, I headed towards the short, empty line. But then, an airport employee raised their hand and blocked my way. "You need to go to the foreigners' line." Yes, I heard the words clearly, but my feet wouldn't move. The employee repeated themselves. "This line is for Republic of Korea passports only." When I raised my head, the sign above and the red passport in my hand came into view together. At that moment, a wave surged within my chest. A foreigner? Me? The airport employee's single word felt both familiar and foreign, instantly shaking the identity within me. I turned around and walked towards the foreigner's line. I had only taken a few steps, but my heart felt much further away. The immigration officer continued with a refined voice. "Why have you come to Korea? Where will you be staying during your visit, and with whom will you be staying?" Those calm yet slightly imposing words sounded like this to my ears. "Who are you? Are you someone who is allowed to be here?" The fear that had grown even stronger because of my defection seemed to whisper in my ear that there was one truth I could never speak aloud. During the silence, my palms became clammy with nervousness, and tension crept down my neck as well. That day, all I thought was, if I just passed the immigration screening, I could finally live a stable life with my loved one. What would have changed in my life if I had said it then? The stamp went thump on the passport. Entry permitted. I bowed my head and said softly, "Thank you." The airport's last automatic door opened and a long breath escaped me. It was the breath of having survived again, a quiet sigh of self-consolation so no one would notice. Little did I realize that day, an undercurrent of anxiety had also been imprinted on my heart. So how did you like today's story? Have you ever heard about how they train huge elephants in circuses? It's sometimes called the elephant chain syndrome. I escaped the enormous prison that was North Korea, but it took me a long time to discover my true self and experience genuine freedom. I'm planning to continue sharing my journey through writing and videos. Stay tuned for the next installment. Thank you.